12 o'clock straight up. I really wanted this room over there, but the guy's still in it and talking. I figured he'd be done by now and go to lunch. Yeah, this is such a beautiful place. University of Arkansas Library, main library, Mullins. Uh, we've spent a lot of money, we American people, Arkansas people, um, creating this place and just making it awesome. All this new furniture. Because, as I've said before, you don't need the books, they're off site, and if you want a book, you order it. Otherwise, you're doing research on the internet, right? I think that's what happens. So they've moved a million books out of here. I don't know how many, but it's so comfortable. Uh, Summer school starts Tuesday. About 5,000 people. We'll see how that goes. Right now, it's basically vacant. I'm digging it. It's awesome. Here's a good one. Here's a good one from early America. Or was it America yet? I don't even know. Articles of Confederation, or we called America at that time before the Constitution. Articles of Confederation, what is that, 1781 to 87, or actually 89 when the Constitution was ratified. But at that point, we weren't really united. We were more 13 colonies doing their own thing, or 13 states doing their own thing with their own state constitutions. And much of ours grew out of that. Here we go. In 1777, Madison refused to provide the liberal quantities of food and liquor that Virginia voters had come to expect. His opponent, a tavern keeper as well as a planter, had no such compunctions and soundly defeated him. Funny, funny, funny. Buying off, buying your votes, buying your votes. So Madison, one of the main, uh, one of the main writers of the Constitution, gets defeated because he doesn't buy alcohol and food for the people for their votes. In Virginia, Virginia was pretty dominant in minds. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but they had some great minds and leaders from Washington to Jefferson to Madison. Am I leaving out one? I thought Hamilton was New York. But the more I read about the Constitutional Convention, a lot of what Madison said, the delegates didn't really like, and a lot of what Franklin said. They liked Franklin because he was the oldest by far and wise, and he might say something and propose something, and everybody would be quiet, and nobody would second it, and they would move on. And that happened to Madison too. I need to be better at knowing the main figures, whether they're from South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, but from different colony states. We like the easy answer. We like the easy answer. Madison is the father of the Constitution. That's not right. It's easy to say, but it doesn't make it right. A lot of competing interests in the founders, who, whether you want to, how much nobility they had, how much honor they had, were still realists in saying everybody is self-interested, and I think they included themselves. They had a self-interest. What do I own? How much can I own? And they saw that as in human nature, and needing to protect each other from that becoming ruinous to a new country. This is just too Spartan for me to. There's no window. There's a window that goes out to the library. I'll show you. Pretty. Very relaxed. Nice place to study, I'm sure. When I studied here in the late 70s, early 80s, it wasn't like this at all. It still was nice, but today blows away what we had then. And I'm glad for that. I'm glad for that. And I'd like to see, one thing that's coming up more and more is the 4-day work week. And not a 10-hour day, not 4 10-hour days, which is destructive to the human spirit. Let's say 4 7-hour days. So one of the other 3 days that you have off, maybe you could volunteer for your community doing something, be close, do something with your family, or you could take a class at the university. Not specifically for a degree, but just for interest and for continuous learning. And as Joseph Campbell, if you don't know that guy, the world's foremost mythologist, was just a sweetheart and brilliant man that died, 15 years ago. You can look it up on YouTube and watch the great Bill Moyers. Love that guy. These two are just, the kind of human beings that we need to be, caring of others, and humble and intelligent. Bill Moyers interviews Joseph Campbell. It's awesome. Really good. Probably a 6-part series. But Joseph Campbell would say, follow your bliss. And I guess I say follow your heart, but follow your interests. My degree's in political science. I knew I didn't want anything else. There was nothing else that interested me. Looking back on it, maybe if a professor had sat me down and said, what about urban planning? Urban planning, that sounds interesting to me. But political science is just intuitively my love. Partly because of my father, who was the mayor, who was president of the Boys Club, who was the president of the Young Democrats in Arkansas, who was delegate to the 68 convention in Chicago when I was 9 years old. And I don't know if this is part of it. I tell this story sometimes. I was 9 years old and I had 3 heroes. I was 9 years old. I had 3 heroes. In April, one of my heroes, Martin Luther King Jr., was killed. 2 months later, in June, one of my heroes, Robert F. Kennedy, was killed. I'm 9 years old, just going, God damn, what's wrong with this place, where I live? I had 3 heroes, 2 of them were killed. I think part of that reason is so many human beings I just want to get by. Self-interest. I'm into myself. I'm into, I don't want to make waves. I don't want to do this. So the people that stand up for what's right, for the people that stand up for the hungry people and the homeless people, those that are being abused and those that deserve a better life, they stand up. They're easy to see. Hey, get that guy. And you can blame it on Robert F. Kennedy or Martin Luther King, but I blame it on the mass of people that don't do anything and just watch the rich get richer and good people struggle to have a decent life and die in poverty. And then my third hero is my father. He was a delegate to the 68 convention. So King's killed in April, May, June. 2 months later, Kennedy's killed. June, July, August. 2 months later, my dad goes to the convention in Chicago, which turns into what some people call a police riot because Mayor Daley uh, um, told his officers, beat the shit out of these guys, these long-haired hippies. And there was so much going on. Vietnam, number one; race relations, number two; and maybe women's power too. So much going on. 1968. Turmoil and just Americans disagreeing violently, and a terrible war is part of that. So he's in the middle of that, and Humphrey gets nominated. Nixon beats Humphrey, and I don't know if that drove my dad to more alcoholism. He probably could have. I don't know. I would say it's a real possibility. Let's say Humphrey was elected and Democrats were leading the government, and maybe my father would have been more involved, and I could see that, and less likely to turn to alcohol. But we had the rotten and corrupt Nixon for I forget when he was kicked out or resigned. 6 years, truly corrupt. From my perspective, we've had two really terribly corrupt and rotten leaders as president in my lifetime, and that would be Nixon and Trump. Yeah, two of the worst of all time, and both rather paranoid, both wanting to get their enemies, not trying to lead everybody, but rather paranoid of anybody that didn't agree with them. Trump is worse about just saying mean things about people and being misogynistic, and a man calling a woman horse face. You just shake your head and go, wow, people like this guy. He's about as ugly as a human being can be. I'm still astounded. So many Americans, and you might say, well, I like him because he doesn't want immigration, which a lot of people want it limited. But I think a lot of it has to do with racism. He's kind of cool the way he kind of doesn't just come out and say he's racist, but he says enough where okay, this guy's a racist. And I think a lot of Americans are racist, coming from our history. It's not a lot. It doesn't have to go back to slavery. My father was the mayor. Black people in Fayetteville could not swim at the pool. Actually, this is when he was president of the Boys Club. And the Boys Club put on swimming lessons at the city pool. And this is probably 65. They integrated the swimming lessons, and that integrated the pool. I believe that's true. And that's one reason I love my dad, because he did the right thing. It wasn't just him. There was a lot of people pushing for that and leading that, and mostly the black leaders of Fayetteville, Arkansas, back then. But my dad was a part of that, and he was instrumental because he was the president of the Boys Club, which put on the swimming lessons. So anyway, we're really proud of my father as a man. Stood up for others and stood up for what's right, and that's what I want to do. Yeah. Let's go see if that other place is open with a window.